So hello and welcome to our portrait painting project using the Sketchbook app. In this project, I'm going to show you how to take a portrait of someone, maybe a selfie, maybe a picture of someone you know, and how to turn it into a minimalist portrait like this one, areas of flat color, and or how to add some shading to define some areas. All right, so to get started, we're gonna hit the plus sign down at the bottom. We're gonna hit new sketch. We're gonna use the preset of 1800 by 2400 pixels. And then depending upon your picture, you can either make a choice of vertical or horizontal by hitting this little button with the arrow to turn your canvas. Your reference photo should take up most of your canvas, so this is a choice you must make depending upon your picture. So before you get here, take a look at that picture, and then when you're happy, hit create. I like to always take my picture and pinch it in a little bit so I can see the whole canvas at once. All right, so I just want to verbally go through our process a little bit before we get started. That way you understand where we are and where we're going. First, we're going to import our photo of ourselves or someone that we know. And then we are going to work on a separate layer using the technical pen in black to do all of our contour lines. Then we will add additional layers for all of our areas of flat color. And then last but not least, I'll show you how to add highlights and shadows and things like that. So before you begin, please make sure your picture is downloaded to your iPad in your camera roll. Make sure that it's cropped in the way that you like it. And you're gonna come up here to the mountains with the plus sign, that little import photo icon. It's gonna bring you to your camera roll. I'm gonna click on my picture here. And then while you're here, before you hit done, I want you to make sure that your picture takes up a lot of the space. If you take a look at mine right now, I've got a lot of empty space around this. I look really small and it's kind of cut off weird. So I'm gonna zoom this in and bring it down so I take up more of the canvas. And then you can hit done. When you do that, it's going to load your picture up into its own layer right here. You're gonna take that layer, click and hold, and drag it below the first one. And then we're going to change the opacity of this picture. We're gonna make it less. So I'm going to click on it again. And here's our opacity slider. I want you to bring it down to around 70, something like that. And then you can click off of that. All right. Next, we're going to work on the layer right above, and we're going to do all of our black line work. Remember, we're going to get all of the contour lines of everything you see for the person except their face. So we don't need to worry about the background. We don't need to worry about patterns if we don't want to. I'm not going to do the pattern of my shirt. But we're going to use the technical pen, and we're going to use that in black. So I'm going to take this down here and make sure your opacity is all the way up. And check out your size. Here's as big as it can go. Let's see. Oops. Something like that should be good. And make sure you're on this new layer right above. And then you can zoom in and start to draw your contour lines. Okay, take your time. This is the foundation of your whole picture. Really make sure that you like it. You're getting just the gist of all of these big shapes. All right, so I'm gonna ignore some of those little baby hairs that are around, right? You also want to make sure that your shapes are closed. Do you see how that's open there? I'm gonna make sure I close that up here and here. Sometimes I like to do that at the end. All right, so once you have your basic lines here, if I turn off my picture, you can see just the outlines of everything. You do want to come in and add some details, like I captured these little wrinkles I was seeing in the shirt, but I'm also going to go in and put a little detail into the hair. If I turn this back on, you can see like there's some pieces of hair that can connect with one another. Right, if you've got curly hair or braids, something like that, make sure that you grab those in as well. All right, so once you think you're done, make sure you have all your lines. This is the foundation moving forward. You're actually going to need to turn your reference photo back on, and we're going to need to bring that opacity all the way back up because we're going to be sourcing the colors from our original photograph. And if you have it down here, everything's going to be really gray. So bring that opacity all the way up for yourself. And then you're going to start new layers and you're going to add in a color for each of the flat sections that you have, like a skin tone, the hair, the clothing, things like that. All right, so depending on your picture, that's going to look a little different. For me, if I turn this off, I'm going to have my shirt, my hair, and my skin, and then I'm going to add a flat layer of color in the background. All right, so keep this on. You're going to add a new layer. And please make sure that that layer is sandwiched between your line work and your photograph. If your layer is above your picture, click and hold and drag that down to make a little sandwich. All of your new layers must be beneath the black outline, otherwise they'll be on top and it'll look really weird. You'll see what I mean a little bit later. All right, so now we're going to be using the color picker. We're going to find that down here. It's that one right up top. And when you click on that, it's going to create that bullseye for you. You can drag this around your picture to get all the different colors that you have. All right. I'm going to do that on the white. I will say a few things about color picking. Remember, you are picking, if I zoom in on these bricks, you are picking individual pixels. So in this brick situation, we have lights and darks and pinks and browns and things like that. And the same thing is going to happen in your skin. If we take a look at my forehead, do you see this bright area, that highlight? We have like a pinker area over here, some other mid-tones, right? So depending on where you color pick, you're gonna have a really bright color, you're gonna have a really red, pink color, right? Or something in the middle. So skin tone's gonna be a little tricky to grab. I would encourage you to spend some quality time picking each of those colors. If I grab something like this from my neck, it's really dark and sort of muddy. Do you see that? It's got like more gray in it. It's closer to that gray side. Whereas like right here on my cheek, look how dark and like pink and rosy that is, right? So just be mindful you're choosing the right pixels, and if it doesn't feel right, change it, it's okay. Same thing for hair. I have a highlight here. If I source that color from up on the highlight, it's gonna be like a gray color, right? I don't have that many gray hairs, but if I come down here, you'll get more of that mid-tone brown. All right, so you're going to source your color for every single piece, use the technical pen to lay in those shapes, and I'm gonna build each of those on a different layer. I'm gonna speed this up so you can see that process in full, and then we'll check in when we have something else to add. All right, so when you are done with this step, your piece will look something like this, where you have flat areas of color for every section of your picture, including your background. The background is totally up to you. I chose one of my favorite colors, this kind of like muted purple, and you can see I used the bucket fill tool and I added it in the entire layer, and I put that layer all the way behind everything. So if I take that and I bring that above my skin, I'll turn purple, right? So I'm gonna take this and bring it back there. The order of your layers matters greatly. It looks like I did a pretty good job of trying to stay within my lines, but you'll notice that if you put your line work underneath something, let's go all the way down, it's going to take it all away and it's going to look really bizarre. It's not as clean, right, as it looks with the line work all the way on top of everything. So just be mindful of the order of your layers. Be mindful of the fact that you have your layers turned on so you can see them. One more thing that I want to point out that I was doing that you might have noticed, I figured this out by accident. If you click on the color of your puck, but you hold it down and then you move it around, like you can change the color. So I was using this, I was pulling it down to be darker or up to be lighter. And I did that a few times with my skin tone to sort of darken it up or lighten it up. You might have seen me do that with the purple in there. All right, so that's where we're going to stop for this video, just laying in the flat areas of color. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to add in some shadows, some highlights, and then how to use a new tool called the smudge pen. And this is something that we know in real life as the tortillon, and it's going to help us blend our colors. So that's up in our next video. All right, so make sure at the end of this one you have your reference picture in there, you have your line work, you have all of your flat areas of color, you got something on the background. If you want to do something interesting, if you want to incorporate some patterns that you have, maybe stripes, things like that, go for it. But when you're at this point, take a screenshot and submit for me, and then I'll see you in the next video to talk about shading. See you in just a bit.